Against the Ogre Horde's price and release date seem to have been leaked, as is the norm with any HeroQuest expansion, at least if it's not going to be coming directly through Hasbro's own platform itself. HeroQuest Against the Ogre Horde, which seems to be stylized here on firestormgames.co.uk, link in the description below to this particular listing, as HeroQuest Ogre Horde Quest Pack is going to be £34.84 with an RRP of £40.99. With that said, it looks like it's not going to be too different at all from the standard price that seems to be the norm for our small box HeroQuest expansions. If I had to make any predictions at this point, just based on this new information, which is what this storefront is willing to charge for this price, I would say that it is going to be indeed a small box expansion. There may not be very many changes, even additive ones. I think that we'll definitely see ogres that share sculpts with the ogres that came with Mage of the Mirror, and I think that we will absolutely see the new sculpt ogres that represent the three unique ogre types that come with the classic HeroQuest Against the Ogre Horde. A bit late on my intro, but welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash. This is HeroQuest, and Firestorm Games has leaked the next upcoming HeroQuest expansion. They just can't stop. There's just always leaks. Now, I would be very interested to know what other kinds of minis this might come with. And I think we could probably suss out some different possibilities based on some sort of precedents that Hasbro and Avalon Hill have set with their packaging. But nothing would be totally conclusive because they have been shown to go off course. They've been shown to zig when we thought they might zag. They've been shown to completely disregard any changes whatsoever and just make things classic. And they've been shown to change selective things based on community feedback over the years. They've been shown to mathematically suss out exactly what needs to happen so that a specific release can answer several problems all at once. It's very difficult at this point to say, yeah, it'll definitely have this, that, and the other. Most people could probably guess exactly what it's going to have if they just stick to a couple of guesses and not go too far. But, you know, with my winning streak of predictions, I might as well bank it all right here, just gamble it all on what is essentially one of my favorite expansions for HeroQuest, if not just my favorite. I love the setting of Against the Ogre Horde. I love the body point variable tracker. I really love the giant outdoor tile. So I think that it's an easy guess to say that it's going to come with the sculpts of the Mage of the Mirror, ogres, as well as the new sculpts of ogres that we would see that represent the classic large and in charge roles of the special ogres of the classic game, as well as the quest book, tiles, and cards that would have come with the UK version of the classic edition as well. Also, thanks to Ward Icon for bringing this to my attention in the Discord. Thank you, Ward. I think that this might be the one that comes with the Druid. I think that this third expansion in this series of expansions, small box, might be the one in which they include our previously Mythic exclusive, or I guess I should say currently Mythic exclusive, Druid Hero. And I think that we would just get one sculpt of the Druid. We might be able to get a bonus sculpt, and I think that that would make sense. The bonus sculpt could absolutely represent the Druid's bear form, which we all would love to have an official bear form. I think that that would be in this expansion versus the Warlock and Orc Bard heroes in the previously announced expansions, because this expansion is definitely going to contain new sculpts in the form of the ogres. So it makes sense to me that while they're on the process of new sculpts, that they might as well roll in the bear as well. And, you know, it makes total sense to me. The hero becomes something of an ogreish brute in order to stand up against the forces of the Ogre Horde that are being employed by Zargon to take on the heroes. This is the first time the ogres are ever employed by Zargon canonically, because in the classic they were employed by Morkar. just a little ribbing there. Sorry. We'll save the ribbing for the skeletons. Availability. It's very important that we hit on this. It's expected on March 31st, 2024. So we're going to be getting this pretty soon after we get our Path of the Wandering Monk Hero Collection Hero expansion, character expansion. I gotta make sure that I define exactly what that is when I say it, because there have been people still in this day and age that ask, hey, I see the Wandering Monk expansion exists. Where are the quests? Where are the other miniatures? Where's the tiles and the story? What is it? It's just a character expansion. It seems to be still kind of a new concept for folks. Not that I blame them. I don't blame them one bit for asking, well, where's my quest book? This thing has 3 tags on it on the site. These are site standard tags used across Firestorm games. One of them is an icon that represents the price, marked down from $40.99. Wow, awesome, guys. I'm sure nobody else will have it at that price either, but that's cool. This is also a pre-order, and it's also a heavy item. Heavy item? What do you mean heavy item? What are you talking about? This is a heavy item? They must have a threshold where they're like, this is going to be more than a pound or more than 2 pounds. And then if it exceeds that, even by a single ounce or a fraction of an ounce on our scale, boom, it gets assigned the heavy item status. And perhaps every expansion or every boxed game is a heavy item on the site. I can't imagine that it's really that heavy. But I bet you the sculpts probably get pretty impressive. They might get pretty heavy. If we take a look at the large box expansion, Rise of the Dread Moon, the quest pack, on here, its list price is 44 Great British pounds 99. So there is a pretty big price difference between this and the small box expansion. If we go to Return of the Witchlord, we see that this is even lower of a price, $29.99. I think that it's definitely expected to see Return of the Witchlord and Keller's Keep priced even lower than the brand new expansion boxes, because I'm not saying they're worth less, but they are a little bit worth less than the newer ones. They have the exact same sculpts. They're very common. They're very, hey, these are the first 2 you should get. They're the most accessible out of all of them. It makes sense to me that the price is definitely lower, especially at this point. But our Ogre Horde quest pack being $34.84 with a retail recommended price of $40, that does tell me that it's going to be a smaller box expansion, because Rise of the Dread Moon might be $44.99, but I bet you the RRP for this one was at least a few pounds higher, like 5 pounds higher. Interesting that this does not have the heavy box icon on it. Perhaps I was wrong in my assessment that the heavy box threshold was just something kind of liked, and if it's surpassed, then it gets this special icon. This is a heavy item. What could that mean? How big are these ogres going to be? I'm absolutely sure that the 4 regular ogres that we get with this are going to be those sculpts from Mage of the Mirror, but perhaps the champion ogre and the chieftain, or whatever they decide to call them for this new release. I don't know that they'll stick with the naming conventions for the ogres, the special ogres in this. That might be a little bit too on the nose, too close to Games Workshop convention for Warhammer stuff. They might go with like King Ogre, Emperor Ogre, something like that. But if they do, perhaps these are going to be large size ogres. They might take up 2x2 tiles on the board, something like the Frozen Horror. Honestly, I'm here for it. I hope that they do. That would be an additive change. That would be something a little bit I'm not used to. But you know what? That's something I think would be pretty awesome. I actually do think that would have made sense in the classic Ogre Horde as well. So bring it on, heavy box warning. I'm ready. It is so difficult to tell how they're going to handle this UK origined quest pack because the European editions of HeroQuest have markedly different rules than the US editions. And of course, now we are playing with the US edition rules as being the global contemporary edition. So we have the idea that these monsters in the previous edition are all over the board. There's ogres, there's the variable body tracker. The monsters, most all of them have 1 body point, and so they are configured in skirmishes across each scenario with that in mind. If you convert any of the European expansions into a US expansion by just applying the new body points, you end up with a substantially more challenging campaign. In such cases, it might even be impractically difficult to complete. So I'm sure that Avalon Hill has worked out a method for obtaining the difficulty level of the European scenarios and bringing them over into the US rule set. They absolutely would have had to, because otherwise we're looking at skirmishes that could be very, very difficult for a party of heroes that are only expected to complete the base game. And while we're on that topic, I absolutely am sure that this is going to only require you to have completed the base game. There is a sort of prescribed lore order as far as these things go, as far as an official ordering of expansions from Avalon Hill, but it is a very soft order. It is one that is very much encouraged to go against and say, yeah, if you want to play them out of order and do it this way or that way, that's totally fine. We've got the order up because we want people to know that there is one because they asked for it. But other than that, disregard it completely. Play them in whatever order you want. The only requirement that any one of these expansions has is that you've played the base game system. So get through your initial 14 quests, and you should be geared up enough to start strong when you go into any of the expansions, Against the Ogre Horde included. Now, the naming convention here is weird. I wonder if this is just like the distributor placeholder name, or if we really are going to see the title remain Against the Ogre Horde. It's possible that Avalon Hill might even have this renamed, and there might be enough additive changes in it that the renaming would actually make sense. That's not something that I've considered before. We might see a renamed Ogre Horde quest pack because it is different enough that it just makes sense to name it differently than the original. And I mean, if you think about it, they're going to have to rename the Wizards of Morcar if they bring that one over and convert it to US rules, because Morcar is not a figurehead in the US edition of HeroQuest. It is now Zargon only. So if they do keep the name, it would be an entirely different character. They would be introducing Morcar into the lore. If they keep Zargon, then they've already had to change the name, which makes it kind of distinct without having to put a disclaimer. You say, I'm not talking about the Wizards of Morcar when you're discussing this online. You say, I'm talking about the Wizards of Zargon. And then the person you're talking to can say, oh, right, that is different. I know what you're saying now. Well, were you talking about Against the Ogre Horde earlier? No. I was talking about the Ogre Horde quest pack. That's different. It is different. It is based on Against the Ogre Horde, but it has substantial changes to its rule set because it would have been a completely difficult, a substantially harder expansion to complete if it had remained a one-to-one experience and they had just increased all the body points of all the monsters in the quest. Anyway, guys, I've rambled on enough about this without saying anything. Please let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Firestorm Games, you can pre-order it now. That doesn't mean that it's announced. It's not announced yet. And it doesn't mean that this link will stay up necessarily. Sometimes there have been cases in the past where a link goes live on a website, on a platform, and we get all excited, we get hyped, we click that add to cart, we get buzzed, we share the news, we talk about it on Discord, on YouTube, whatever, and then the link goes down. And we're like, but it shouldn't be any surprise because this is not announced yet. It's just, do Firestorm have the go-ahead? Is their little time limit done where they have to keep this under wraps before they can put it up for pre-order? What's the story there? Why does this always seem to happen with HeroQuest expansions every single time? I think it's very amusing, but I'd love to know what you guys think. So comment down below, subscribe if you'd like to see more content just like this, talking head, rambling on about games. It's so much fun to do, and I would love to talk about your favorite game too. So let's go. Join the Discord as well. The Amalgam Archive is always linked in the description below. We can talk asynchronously whenever there's not a video, and I can't hear what you're saying right now anyway because I'm just on a screen. I guess that's also true in every other context too. I'm just behind a screen, but hold on. I'm about to have an existential crisis here. I'm against the existential horde right now. Just I'll see you later. Bye.